First Take has been on the road all week. We started out in good old Bristol, Connecticut. Then we made our way to New Jersey for Jets camp. Then over to Latrobe, Pennsylvania with the Steelers. And today we made it from Redskins camp in Richmond, Virginia, all the way down to our final stop, Tampa, Florida, for a visit with the Buccaneers. We are road warriors this week. Welcome back into Tampa. Of course, we're here at Bucs camp. Coming up, Levante David, Gerald McCoy, Doug Martin, and Jameis Winston will all be joining us, so stay tuned for that. And speaking of quarterbacks, the NFC South has a wealth of riches at the quarterback position. Saints QB Drew Brees, a Super Bowl MVP. Cam Newton is the reigning NFL MVP. Matt Ryan is the Falcons' franchise leader in passing yards and touchdown passes. And here the Bucs have former #1 overall pick Jameis Winston. Ryan, I want to start with you. Where does Winston rank amongst the NFC South QBs?
Man, let's see. We have the reigning MVP, former Super Bowl. I can't say former because once you're a Super Bowl MVP, you always are. Matt Ryan, once the highest paid quarterback in the league when he got his deal. So you would figure Jameis has to be second, because for me, if you look at this, I'm not talking about who you put on the field today. If drafting a quarterback for your franchise, I go Cam Newton first and then Jameis Winston before Drew Brees and Matt Ryan. Listen, I know Drew Brees is going to throw for 5,000 yards a year, and they're going to spread the ball out with that passing attack in New Orleans. And then Matt Ryan now has Mohamed Sanu. He has Julio Jones, who I'm pretty sure I could throw the football to and get 1,000 yards. But when you look at what Jameis Winston was able to do last year, he started out kind of shaky, throwing the ball short, interceptions to Josh Norman, interceptions in games where that team could have pulled off wins. You even look at the start of the season against Marcus Mariota. But if you watch the season progress, he got better and better. He got more poised. He was leading his teams on drives to win football games. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers were constantly moving the ball to the point where Doug Martin was even able to start to get loose and rush for 1,400 yards last year. But it's the command and leadership he has on this team. For a guy like Jameis Winston to be able to go to Gerald McCoy and say, I want to see you be a different type of leader this year. To look at his numbers are the same as Cam Newton's were in his rookie year. Almost identical numbers. And when we talked about Cam Newton's rookie year, because he was breaking records, if we remember, we talked about it with so much more love and support in what he was doing than we did for Jameis Winston. I loved everything this kid did last year. Most of all, I love the fact that he's still hungry. Went this offseason and lost weight. Went back to the drawing board, watched film on getting the ball deeper down the field. I look for Jameis Winston to ascend into the top tier of quarterbacks, if not this year coming up, the next year. And so when you talk about what he's able to do now and seeing him going in the future, I pick Jameis Winston second if I have a draft of these quarterbacks in this division.
Okay, first of all, what's exactly the question? Because I need to make sure I'm clear, because I don't know if
Where
you
does he
answered
rank?
the question.
He ranks number 2.
You talking about where he ranks right now?
He ranks number 2.
Right now.
Right now.
Right now. We're in Tampa. Aren't we at the Bucs camp?
Yeah.
See, I hate stuff
place.
like this, man, because, you know, y'all make me turn into the bad guy. Jameis Winston is dead last, and it's not even close. It's dead last right now. Will that be the case in the future? No. Drew Brees is 37 years of age. Jameis Winston is on the come up. We understand in terms of looking ahead, Jameis Winston has the upside. He had 6 touchdown rushes last year. Nobody anticipated that because he was second in the league in touchdowns rushed for by a quarterback next to Cam Newton, who had 10. We get that. Jameis Winston was a surprise. He passed for over 4,000 yards through 22 touchdowns. Jameis Winston is to be respected. His upside is tremendous. And I'm not holding against his first NFL pass was a pick 6. Okay, I understand that.
Throw that in there.
No, because what happens? I'm being complimentary because you come into the league, your first game in the NFL, that's the first thing you do. You never know what psychological impact that could have on somebody, at least for the next couple of weeks to come. The man, after throwing some interceptions, he went like almost a month without throwing any. He immediately corrected those doldrums, those mistakes. Jameis Winston deserves to be respected, but he ain't on the level of these brothers. Let's pump the brakes here and take off the pom-poms, right? Listen, first of all, Cam Newton, enough said. Nothing to talk
we
about
talk
there.
about that.
Then we got Drew Brees, who's always passing for 4,800 plus yards and consistently defies the critics. And their offensive firepower may be just as lethal, if not more so this year. It's just that their defense flat out stinks. And it has been. I mean, they're going on their fifth defensive coordinator in New Orleans, and Sean Payton's 11-year coaching career there. That's a problem. But Drew Brees is Drew Brees. Cam Newton is Cam Newton. Matt Ryan fell off a little bit. There's no doubt about that. And he's got to make amends for it. And he has underachieved to some degree because we have expected more. So if you want to have a debate about whether Jameis Winston is 3 or 4 within the 4-team conference that is the NFC South, I guess you could do that. But Matt Ryan's experience, his knowledge, his know-how, his IQ on a football field, et cetera, I would still give him the edge right now because I think that obviously Jameis Winston is still learning. But then we also have to look at the way the season ended. We have to look at the fact that you ended the season losing 4 straight games. New Orleans, St. Louis, Chicago, and got obliterated by Carolina 38-10. We have to look at that. We have to look at the fact that Lovie Smith ended up being fired because his signature was defense, but the defense flat out stunk. That didn't have a lot to do with Jameis Winston, but you were also inhibited offensively because you had a learning curve. We also could take into account, if you want to protect him a little bit, we got to look at Mike Evans. He had 11 drops, most of the NFL last season. We got to look at Vincent Jackson. He got 2 knee injuries, and he's 33 years of age. We look at Severian Jenkins. We know he's got knee and back issues, and everybody's talking about the chemistry between Cameron Brate and Jameis and how that could ultimately evolve into something special. But there's a whole bunch of question marks when it comes to Jameis Winston that can't be ignored. I believe in him. I believe the kid is going to be special. I believe that he deserves his props. But to act like he's better than anybody in the NFC South at this juncture, because I'm answering the question about now. I know he's got the future, but right now, this season, where does Jameis Winston rank within the NFC South? I'm sorry, even though I'm right here in Tampa, that would be last.
But it's Stephen A. It's not last. We're not talking about last year, right? We're not talking about last year. Last year, if you look at the season or coming into the season, I would go with you. You could rank him last. The way Matt Ryan started out, you might rank him second early in the season.
But he tailed off the last 11 games.
Exactly. But if you look at the Atlanta Falcons team, you would think, oh, the defense must have not played well because there's no way Matt Ryan was part of this. I'm talking red zone interceptions, late game fallouts, debacles. Can't even get the snap from center sometimes in some of those late game situations. Matt Ryan fell apart. So to me, the 3-4 conversation is not even a conversation.
Okay,
I take Jameis Winston over him now.
I can't. I would say I would still take Matt Ryan for this season only. I'll give you that. I would still take him, but I'll give you the fact that it's a debate. It's a debate, but the debate is between next to last, the penultimate, or last. It's one or the other. It damn sure ain't whether or not he's in the top tier in the NFC South. That would be Cam Newton and Drew Brees. Stop it.
I love Drew Brees. I'm from New Orleans, and I love the fact that he came back.
You're about to be blasphemous.
You're about to be blasphemous. But right now, going into 2016, give me Jameis Winston.
You got to be crazy.
Give me Jameis
over
Winston.
Drew Brees.
Over Drew Brees.
They might not allow you back in the state. They might not allow you back in the state. That's
He's flying there right after the show.
That's why you got that smile on your face.
I'm not going to tell him
That's why you got that smile on your face. Because you know you
I want Jameis Winston.
Jameis Winston.
If I'm Sean Payton, and they say, hey, Sean.
Season 2. I'm not talking about losing.
I'm talking about right now. This is where they make the biggest jump.
For one season, Drew Brees, where he is now, and Jameis Winston, where he is now. You would take Jameis Winston over Drew Brees.
No doubt.
I might have your football card stripped. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
It's not ridiculous.
That's ridiculous.
It's not ridiculous.
You're too experienced. You're too smart. You know football too much.
Stephen A.
Something like that. That's ridiculous.
6'5", pinpoint passing. He can move the pocket, which Drew Brees does not do.
Jameis Winston's not pinpoint passing yet. He's getting better. It's not pinpoint yet. Drew Brees is pinpoint. Drew Brees is pinpoint.
The start of last year.
Drew Brees is inferior to Jameis Winston.
As a quarterback?
Right now,
I take Jameis Winston. I'm not going to say the word inferior because it makes it sound bad if I say inferior.
You should be ashamed of yourself.
If I got a guy right now, I get Jameis Winston. I am more confident that Jameis Winston can be a better quarterback for a team
I never thought I'd say this to
than
you.
Drew Brees.
That is so disrespectful. I mean, you got to be kidding me. Drew Brees
Drew Brees.
Drew Brees is going to take a back seat to Jameis Winston
33-year-old,
now.
33-year-old Drew Brees?
Look.
No. 37-year-old Drew Brees? Yes. This guy.
Straight over throwing for 4,800 yards. Drew
That's
Brees.
what they do. That's what Sean Payton and Drew Brees do.
Hold on. What do you mean
they
that's
toss
what,
it around the ball.
I'm looking at you like you short now. What do you mean that's what they do?
The same way they do it at Oklahoma State.
So anybody.
We don't want none of their quarterbacks.
Hold on. So anybody can roll into New Orleans with Sean Payton as their coach and throw for 5,000 yards the way Drew Brees has been doing?
When did we
Anybody
realize,
can do that?
When did we realize last year that New Orleans offense didn't suck? The game that Drew Brees sat out and McCown came in and almost beat the Carolina Panthers. If not for a Josh Norman interception, he throws for 300 yards. And now all of a sudden.
I got him. I got him. Here's the deal. I got that from Mark Lawrence watching that episode the other day. Here's the deal. I'm laughing about that because if I remember correctly, Molly, there was a dude by the name, and I got to have my man Chuck Solitero and Brian Bork. I got to have them look this up because I want to make sure I'm accurate. If I recall correctly, I think Ryan Clark came on television with us right that week. And what he said back then, if I remember, because I could be wrong. I'm almost 50. I'm going to check the tape. But check this out. I think I recall Ryan Clark saying, quote, yeah, he was good. But you know, when you're not anticipating seeing somebody new, somebody that you're unfamiliar with, these kind of things happen sometimes. But now that you're sitting here on First Take live from Tampa camp,
but here's
all
the
of a
thing.
sudden Jameis Winston is a top 10 quarterback in the NFC South.
That had nothing to do with the statement I just made, though. That is true. That is real football.
We got to go to break. This is good. But we're going to break. You have a break.
I can't believe you did not. Those two things have nothing to do with each other.
You tried to get over. You said it.
I am over.
He's a prisoner of Tampa.
Listen,
an argument can be made that this division has some of the best quarterbacks in the league. It's a tough competition. I get why you're trying to say he said it because he's in Tampa. When we come back from Tampa, we're done, fellas. The Rio Olympics kickoff tonight, opening ceremonies. Are the guys excited, or is there too much controversy? We'll break it down next. More First Take from Tampa Bay. We're having fun.
He made some stuff up, man.
Ryan Clark, Jameis will be with us next.
I wasn't even on First